Absolute Ben 10 Chapter 1 just dropped, and this is the official birth of the Absolute Ben 10. It's a very unique origin story. The comic starts with Ben on a camping trip with Gwen's mom and dad, well, and Gwen too. In the first opening panel, he's reading a book with what seems to be 5YL, which is pretty cool. It's really an inception moment because 5YL being entertainment in the Absolute Ben 10 universe is funny because the Ben 10 reboot is also entertainment in the 5YL universe, so nice little twist. Anyways, Gwen's father gets called to get some firewood. However, Ben and Gwen end up going out into the forest instead. Both of them end up getting the firewood, and a dialogue begins about Grandpa Max, with Gwen breaking the ice saying to Ben, "Hey Ben, you know we miss him too, right?" And here's where we can see Gwen's ulterior motive for the camping trip. And she goes on to open up even more. "I may seem fine, but not a day goes by where I don't miss Grandpa Max. It took a lot for me to get over it. Why do you think I stayed cooped up in the dojo or the library? Instead of avoiding them, getting back into things you're passionate about like I did could make you feel better." Now, even though what Gwen is saying makes so much sense as a reasonable coping method, that isn't what Ben wants to hear. As we can see, he turns around pretty enraged. Ben reiterates, saying everything I'm passionate about. Right then we go right into an amazing flashback of Grandpa Max teaching Ben about the things that he ends up becoming passionate about. And this kind of shows how connected his passion is to Grandpa Max and his memories of him. This is very much a parallel to this scene here from Alien Force in the episode Ben 10 Returns Part 2.
Grandpa Max taught me to ride my bike. He ran alongside me, holding me up while I pedaled.
It's a really touching scene, and if you look at the homework as well, you can see Dr. Wardy's right there. Pretty nice cameo. Anyways, we continue with Ben's breakdown of his own views of Grandpa Max. He reminds Gwen that Grandpa Max taught him everything, that he showed him damn near unconditional love, and that he was his hero. However, what he throws right into Gwen's face is that maybe he wasn't her hero. Ben comes off so insensitive here, as he spins a whole narrative that makes it seem like Gwen never cared about their grandpa. It's a really unfair take, which makes Gwen pretty sad. So she leaves and heads back to camp, where Ben decides to stay alone in the forest for a while. He starts off a monologue saying that his family wants him to forget about his grandfather, but he's unwilling to. After a quick Google search, I noticed that Ben is actually going through a thing called a complicated grief disorder, which is why he's so fixated on Grandpa Max and his past, and is still so down in the dumps because, you know, the complicated grief disorder is in part responsible for people feeling incredibly depressed when a loved one of theirs has died. He wishes he could still talk to him, but a shooting star interrupts him, and this unique ass Omnitrix pod starts hurtling towards Earth. It crashes and starts glowing bright green from the crater, but this pod is very different from what we're used to. A clearer design is more present in Chapter 0, where it has a color scheme that is a lot closer to the completed Omnitrix. This might be a sign that the Galvan race is a bit more advanced than what we might be anticipating, but hey, I could be wrong. Anyways, Ben goes on to investigate, wondering if it is a satellite, so he places his hand near it. I mean, this should be smoking hot right now, but whatever. The spaceship realizes that a living creature is nearby, and it reacts to it, saying DNA target located. It seems like this is how most of Azimuth's technology works, because a similar thing happened once the Omnitrix landed on Earth. It reacted to DNA being close to it, along with the Omnitrix pod opening after Ben came up close. Well, instead of opening up and revealing an Omnitrix though, like what happened in Classic, the space pod sucks Ben's arm in. Like, holy smokes, man, like that's insanely unique and special. However, it's not over yet, as the pod starts the DNA coupling of the watch, which is essentially the merging process. After this is complete, the pod releases Ben Tennyson. However, he has some brand new bling. Now, the Omnitrix here has been seared or burnt into his flesh, instead of being a seamless merger with the user, which, I mean, that makes a lot of sense, since the Omnitrix combining with your DNA logically shouldn't be painless. But that's not all that happens here, as the watch goes into the activation mode. Pretty odd that we didn't really see what happened to activate it in the first place, but regardless, we see these green chambers open up and they are bubbling with DNA, which looks super amazing. This shit, like, this has got me like... Now we get a little view of the alien selection menu as well. That is a lot like the Omniverse completed Omnitrix, but it doesn't show us the alien that we are gonna get until Ben reluctantly pushes down on the Omnitrix core and we get our first transformation out of the Absolute Omnitrix, which is Absolute Accelerate. Now this design is heavily inspired by a few aspects of fictional entertainment. The first thing I noticed was the visor being just like the Forever King's visor, which is a really unique touch from the series season finale. I mean, the Forever King first debuted in the episode Ben 10 versus the -10. So I really love to see a sort of cross-series pollination in designs. The writer Fanboy Wonder also attributes his inspiration for the new Accelerate design to being Power Rangers, with these two guys being his primary inspiration. So a thing I really do wonder about though is why would Accelerate be his first transformation? I did have some discussion on Twitter about it, and someone did say that this might have been an emotional response that the Omnitrix reflected onto Ben, as Accelerate or Speedster would probably be the closest thing for Ben to have in slowing down the moment or living in the past. However, that's just a theory. Regardless, Absolute Accelerate is still aura farming. Like, my gosh. Absolute Ben isn't the only one who is maxing out on aura. Here are about 7 levels of incredible Ben Tennysons that are doing the same. I think you might like them.